Joining us now in Studio B, Jaylen Reyes, where there is more acceptable contact in volleyball, it would seem, than in West Coast Conference basketball at this point. So let's talk about volleyball. Jaylen, welcome back to Studio B, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Jaylen?
How's it going?
Fantastic. The assistant coach extraordinaire, Jaylen, with us. Let's start with this. From the first match of the season to now February 17th, where do you feel like BYU men's volleyball has improved the most?
I think maybe not just at the start of the season, maybe even going back to last season, I would say our serving. I think our serving's gotten a lot better. And, you know, if someone just look at a stat sheet and you'd be like, well, you guys are still missing around the same amount of serves you guys did last year. I think everyone's serving the ball and putting more pressure on the serves that we do serve in. So I think that's where we've made our biggest stride throughout the year.
And you're number one in the league now in aces. Last year it was a struggle. You guys were like 10th, 11th, or 12th there for a while. And I know you guys have put a lot of time into that. And the fans might just see, oh, an ace or not, right? But there are varying degrees of pressure. Will you describe that?
For sure. So last year, you know, we had a hard time of when we served the ball in, you know, other teams passed it well. And in men's volleyball, if you pass the ball perfect, it's really, really hard to play defense against that. So this year, the balls that we are either not serving an ace or making an error, team setters tend to be setting the ball from off the net now, which makes it easier on our blockers and makes it easier to play floor defense against setters that are setting the ball out of system versus in system, which is on the net.
Hey, interesting mentality as BYU volleyball gets set to host UC San Diego, a team that the Cougars have never lost to, 40-0. That was our stat of the day.
Kind of hoping you didn't bring that up.
Yeah.
You're on the coaching staff. No pressure. BYU's never lost ever to this team.
How do you prepare your team for an opponent like this when you have had such a dominant record against them?
You know, I think, you know, this year, we kind of talked about this when we played USC last week. There's a lot of teams that maybe are toward the bottoms, but if you look at their wins, they're actually like against good teams. You know, like for an example, USC last week. You know, last week I think before our match they were like 2-6 in conference, but their 2 wins were against Irvine, who we lost to, and Long Beach, who's tied for first place with us, and they just beat Stanford last night, who was 1 game behind us before last night. So, you know, everyone can beat anybody. And I think the guys understand that. We have enough guys who've played enough volleyball where they understand if you don't show up to play, you could lose. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing for us.
What's practice like this week when you're preparing for an opponent like that you want to respect, and yet you're probably trying to get the guys to go, okay, listen, you need to take them seriously, and here's why.
I think a lot of it is this week we mixed lineups a bunch. So, you know, sometimes some weeks we'll do more starters versus our second team. But this week we mixed because it's like, you know, I guess we try to keep the guys on edge to, you know, who's going to play, who doesn't. So, you know, maybe some of those second teamers, they don't really know if they're going to play or not. And the first teamers, you know, they're first teamers. So they're kind of used to going.
What do you think of the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation volleyball as a whole right now? Because there is a ton of parity, as you just pointed out. In fact, UC San Diego beat USC, who beat UC Irvine, who beat Long Beach State,
who beat UCLA. So the transitive properties, UC San Diego is pretty good by that.
Nobody
measure,
is
right?
safe, but Stanford lost last night. UCLA is slipping a bit. What do you think of the entire federation right now?
I think this year there's a lot of teams are banged up. A lot of injuries happen. UCLA has kind of caught the injury bug a little bit. You know, we have it a little bit. There's other teams that have gotten banged up. So I think that helps teams that are maybe not the same quality. And I think a lot of it is, you know, teams fall into the fact of what we just talked about. You know, if you overlook somebody, you could get beat. You know, I'm not saying UCLA overlooked Northridge, but they play Long Beach tomorrow. Were they looking ahead to Long Beach? You know, saying Northridge goes and beats SC. They beat UCLA, but then they lose to San Diego. You know, so it's one of those things where if you overlook a team, you could lose in a hurry. You know.
Who reminds you of you on this team? You played libero here, 4-year starter. Who reminds you of you?
Who reminds me of me?
It could be attitude too, just your energy level.
Not just, you know, muscle mass.
I would say Will. I think me and Will
Stanley.
Will Stanley, our backup
Brother
setter.
of Clay Stanley, 3-time Olympian.
Yes. I think Will, I think a little bit just because we're from Hawaii, so we kind of have this like laid back feel to us until we like are brought into any type of competition, then it gets personal and you do anything you want to do to win. So I think Will probably mirrors me the most, I would say.
Jaylen Reyes, assistant coach for BYU men's volleyball, with us in Studio B. The Cougars hosting UC San Diego tonight and Saturday, both matches live on BYUtv. I'm going to try and fire up a laid-back guy here, Jerem. Okay.
On UC San Diego weekend.
Yes. So when I say the words Ohio State men's volleyball, what goes through your mind, Jaylen?
As you snicker.
It's a very good team, and I just remember the serving parade they had against us in the finals. I just remember in the third set, it was the first couple of sets were disappointing because how they went, and then the third set, the gates opened up for them, and I was like, wow, like this is a show they're putting on serving wise, and I would say all the other stats, besides serving and passing, we were better or, at the same level as them. But, volleyball is all about serving and passing. And if you serve like that and you pass like that, I would say, 99 out of 100 times you're going to win.
Maybe that prompted the resurgence of the serving emphasis for BYU.
For sure. I think, the cool thing about men's volleyball is, and I can't compare this to other sports, but whenever we go on recruiting trips together, because it's so close-knit, we always talk about, like, what we do with our teams, And the two things I took from talking with UCLA and Ohio State was how they practice serving, how much they practice serving, and the mindset they did. Did they care about missing or making? Did they care about this? Did they care about our guys hitting the ball hard and tough, So we kind of took a little bit from what they did, from what UCLA did. I would say last year, those two teams by far were the two best serving teams in the conference. I mean, in the country, not the conference. So we kind of took a little bit of them and we kind of changed our approach a little bit. So we kind of merged what we did, what Ohio State did, and what UCLA did. And, I guess we could say that, because men's volleyball is so small, we interact all the time just at recruiting tournaments. We coach on the same coaching staff. In fact, I coach a team with one of the UCLA assistants over the summer. So it's pretty cool to actually kind of take and blend what other schools do that are really successful. We try to, merge into our program a little bit too.
Well, the merging looks good, my friend. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Keep it rolling. Jaylen Reyes with us. Thanks for the time, man.
Thanks, guys.
See you tonight.